Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus Reports, and this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there. This is Ben Dickerson. I'm your co-host. Oh, so close to the NFL season, getting ready to begin. Preseason was kind of entertaining this year, just a little. I know I'm one to always talk about not really caring about the preseason, but it did hold a little interest to me. But now that everybody's cut down to 53, we're ready for action.
Well, welcome aboard to the people who actually watch and get some enjoyment out of preseason football. We have a number of things we're going to talk about in today's show. Want to mention real quick that this show is run also as a radio show, and that we are going to a new time. That time is going to be Saturday mornings from 10 to noon Eastern time. And you can join in at WJRL953.com and check out Ben and Barry on football. Of course, you can always reach us at our website, www.benandbarryonfootball. So what we're going to take care of today, Ben, we're going to take a look at, we've done so much in terms of looking at position groups and rankings. We're just going to finish it off here with a quick top five in the quarterback space as far as number one quarterbacks or top five quarterbacks in the league. So we're going to hit that real quick. Then we're going to kind of look back. This is sort of a live plus pre-recorded show in that, you know, when we looked at defensive back rooms, when we looked at linebackers, we looked at lines, we looked at all the different position groups, we want to revisit the top five in some of those groups. That would be tight ends, defensive backs, running backs, and your favorite room, the wide receiver room, which has tremendous impact in terms of things that like fantasy, fantasy football and stuff like that. So we're going to look at some of those real quick, and then we're going to look back, as we usually do, at Ben and Barry on football on Facebook, where we've already brought up a number of issues and topics, so much happening across football. We have a show that focuses on the NFL, but coming on at 10 in the morning on a Saturday, what are most people about to see on a Saturday morning, Benny?
That would be college football, NCAA.
That would be one of your favorites. One of your favorites. So what do you think about opening of college football season?
NCAA games will be starting to roll on Saturday mornings. For those of you out there who really enjoy the college game, this is your time of year. Last week, we talked to Nina on the radio, who is at WJRL and broadcasts our show on her station. She's a big Ohio State fan, and we were talking about the preseason rankings for NCAA Division I schools. I forget where she was looking for her rankings. I tried to find something that's as updated as possible. So basically, I looked at the AP Top 25 poll, because the Associated Press, the AP, is basically the writers who watch all the college games and kind of push the rankings. And I believe that they have a say in the college playoff. And right now, their top five is out in this order: Alabama, Oklahoma, Clemson, Ohio State, and Georgia. Now, I think the rankings we looked at last week with Nina, Ohio State was a little lower. She was very upset about that. I have them through the AP is listed as number 4. They did get a first place vote. Georgia got 3 first place votes, but it's pretty obvious that Alabama, Oklahoma, and Clemson are the 3 favorites. I don't know exactly what to say about that right now, except for of that top 5, or that top 5 as far as Division I is concerned as a whole, they usually have the top recruiting classes. So obviously, seniors come out, sophomores and juniors take over, and the program just keeps on rolling. Plus, they bring in 4- and 5-star athletes continuously. So having them ranked as the top 5 for the preseason is not outlandish at all. Those will be very strong teams this season.
So much happening in college football, and I usually follow your lead. Our motto is football is life, and the one thing about NCAA sports that's happening that's going to impact these kids' life is going to be their ability to take financial profits from their likeness and image and things of that nature. And I don't know if it will impact the game on the field at all. It shouldn't, I would think, but I think it's still something that just is left out there that could happen because of, that money's a powerful thing, and it could change a lot. So I'm just interested to see if it might impact the game at all.
I think the game will impact their name, image, and likeness. It's going to be the other way around. In other words, and I just noticed this morning. So one of Deion Sanders' sons signed a contract with Beats by Dre. If he balls out, that's big for him. You know what I mean? Some of these quarterbacks that are taking over big name programs for the first time, they're starters, have signed big contracts with Adidas, with Nike, with Under Armour, with whoever. Okay, if they ball out on the field, their money starts popping. So what they do on the field is going to really impact. Basically, when you sign, especially if you're a new starter at a prime position, namely quarterback. First of all, the company that signs you is looking forward to you playing well because you're going to be a face, you're going to be a spokesman perhaps for their product. So they believe in you. That's why they let you sign. You can't just sign anywhere with anybody. But if you prove yourself on the field, that means they made a good choice and you made a nice choice in signing that contract. And that's going to be money for you. So name, image, and likeness is going to be a really big deal. But I think what you do in the field will impact your name, image, and likeness more than your name, image, and likeness will impact you on the field. Took me a long time to get all that out.
Yeah. And I understand what you're saying. It starts, with the success in the sport in general. I mean, but it's a two-stage situation. And I'm just thinking of potential things like, for example, Trey Lance, right? The Niners sold the future and moved up to get him. He hadn't played but a handful of games in the last year. But at some point, he played so well and showed so much that they were willing to say, okay, we think this guy has it. You get a situation where a guy has enough outside income and he's now a senior and he's had some success and he has to decide, should he risk getting hurt or going ahead and hold out because he now has enough income coming in that the next step for the pros would be a nice piece. So
okay, I see where you're going.
I'm just wondering, some of the things that might happen, especially, with that. All right. College football kickoffs. We tried to get your brother to come on because he's Mr. College crazy, but he's also Eagle crazy. I can imagine the Eagles are driving him bananas right now.
He's driving me bananas.
Person, or is he?
Dude, I can't even talk to this guy right now. He's nuts. He knows everybody that got cut. Everybody he thinks he should have got cut, everybody he thinks they're going to cut and bring back. I'll give him this. We got into a conversation the other day about keeping Whiteside. This is the Eagles we're talking about. Keeping J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and letting Travis Fulgham go. Travis Fulgham has better stats in 1 year than Whiteside has in 3. But they kept Whiteside, yes, documented, but they kept Whiteside and they released Fulgham. Well, since then, I think just the other day, they brought Fulgham back. So, NFL teams kind of play that game of, we're going to release you, then we're going to move this guy, then we're going to bring you back, then we're going to put you in the practice squad, and then if this guy gets cut, then we're going to do this and that. And you know what I mean? So guys bounce back and forth. I get it. But in my eyes, Whiteside is a bum. He's a bust. And what the Eagles have done is they went too high to get him. I believe he's coming into his 3rd or 4th season, probably his 3rd, and they're not willing to pronounce or do anything that proves that they overstepped in taking him as early as they did. They're trying like heck to give this guy every opportunity to make it so they can look like they made the right decision. I think it's goofy. I understand. Everybody does it. I just think it's goofy. This guy has shown me nothing that lets me think that he has the potential to be a really good NFL player, even a good NFL player. And the main excuse that the coach used was he plays special teams. Are you kidding me? You call somebody up at home right now, probably a former player, former veteran that'll come in and play that special team spot better than him, or at least as well. It's crazy. And you could pay him half the money.
Well, that's always a consideration as far as that's concerned. And we've talked about the contract situations and how that might impact some of their decisions. August 31st was cutoff day, and a lot of people did get cut. I'm looking here just to see what they paid him. They gave him a 4-year, $4.9 million contract with 1.6 signing bonus and 2.3 guaranteed. And he's on contract with dead cap money going into 2023. So it could have had something to do with money. But in addition to that, we had a little bit of personal news where one of our young boys, Mr. Corey Clement, doing such a great job, we thought, with the Eagles. And I had said to you that the only competition Corey had was, I'm trying to think of the guy's name, Platzengummer.
Who?
Platzengummer, that's who it was. I was telling you, the running back from the European League, Platzengummer. Like, we knew he wasn't going to take Saquon's place, and we weren't sure about the other guy. And I mentioned how much the coach was talking about Platzengummer. And you said, yeah, we'll talk about Platzengummer when he gets cut. Remember that?
So did he get cut?
He sure did. Yes, he did.
Okay, so let's talk about him.
And Corey did too. That's what we didn't expect, that Corey would get cut also.
Evidently, they're keeping the kid Brightwell. So they got Saquon, they got Devontae Booker, and I think they're going to keep the kid Brightwell. I don't know why. I think Corey's better than Brightwell, but that's me. What do I know? Okay, so he lands on his feet. He's with the Cowboys now. No big deal.
I think landing on his feet is a very good way to put it. I think that when I looked at the situation that he's in, you basically got Corey, Ezekiel, and Tony Pollard. Pollard is more of a speed, faster guy, and everything. What's interesting, also, I took a look to see, what his contract was. So he's making over $900K. They gave him basically a full 1 year, bam, paid him. They just paid him close to $1 million. You know what I mean? And so when I looked at it, I thought to myself, he's an inside power runner. He's had a lot of experience doing that. And I wonder if he could learn something from Ezekiel Elliott in the way that he runs, you know what I mean? Some of the things that he's able to do. Like when we watched Ezekiel run, we talked about how much of a tunneler he is. He'll get low. He'll get 3-4 yards like underneath everybody. You know what I mean? He has that built into his game. And so I looked real quick just to compare his attributes on Madden to Ezekiel Elliott and Pollard. Now, Ezekiel's rated 88. Corey's actually rated 70, which is interesting that, you know, you get a Madden rating of 70 and that you can get a guaranteed $1 million contract in the NFL. So just to kind of give some perspective there, Tony Pollard's at 77. The main place that Corey seems to be rated lowest is in awareness and also in returning kicks, which he did return kicks for the Eagles. Awareness, Ezekiel's 91, Pollard 77, and Clemens 69. And you know, they also, I think they cheated him a little bit on the catch here, because he had a pretty low catch, 69. So he's 69 in awareness, 69 in catch, and I think that held him down. So as far as just looking at him purely numerically as they do in their ratings, those are the two areas that he could improve on. And I'm wondering that, you know, with him hooking up behind Ezekiel Elliott, if that could help him in those areas. You know what I mean? The catch thing, I think he can catch. I don't know why they did that. I think that's just lack of, nothing's fallible and nothing's 100%. But in terms of his awareness, I think it could be higher. And I think that, you know, he has a good opportunity behind Ezekiel to maybe, you know, pick up on that mode of running and pick up some of those traits and improve his own game a little bit. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how he progresses.
Yeah, I think coming out of college, and I remember this because, you know, obviously we know his dad, and we've been following Corey from Wisconsin. He came out of college, I believe, with the reputation of not being a back who catches the ball out of the backfield. But I think that was mostly because Wisconsin didn't use him in that role. Okay. And then when he came into the pros, he actually worked on it and showed that he can catch the ball out of the backfield. Hence, he is now considered by most people a third down / change of pace type of running back, meaning, you know, to hold that role, you need to be able to catch the ball. So people now know that he can catch the ball. The problem with having a higher load Madden number, I think, also comes with opportunity. If you don't get a lot of opportunities, it's hard for them to raise your rating because you haven't been able to put it on film. So the more opportunities he gets, obviously his catch number will go up and his awareness number will go up. If you have a low awareness number, it's either because you make a lot of mistakes or you haven't had an opportunity to show that you have good awareness. They can't give you a number if they don't see it, you know?
You know, the awareness thing is really interesting because, you know, I had to go back and just kind of, you know, make sure I kind of understood what they meant when they said awareness. Mm-hmm. And they basically say your reaction to your surroundings. So I guess like if you're a quarter running back and you're going through the hole and they're you know, if you're making that high level cut on a consistent basis, higher awareness, you know.
Right, but you can't show that if you're on the bench.
Can't show that if you're, no, absolutely, you know. The catching thing is funny. You're right in terms of numbers of catches, but in terms of highlight catches, he's got highlight catches on his resume in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So you think to yourself, yeah, one catch, I understand.
One catch, one game.
One touchdown, big game.
One catch, one game, one touchdown. It's not enough.
Yeah, well, you know, I understand, but it's a highlight catch. Okay, all right. That was fun. Guess what? We're gonna join back to this level of fun as we get on the other side of some of the stuff that we have coming up. What we want to do right now, Ben, is just take a quick look. We at the top 5 quarterbacks, you know, based on, I believe this is a PFF ranking. We've done quarterback rankings, excuse me, we've done room rankings, linebacker room, everybody's room over the last few weeks, going back actually to June. I was surprised. I didn't realize we started this way back in June. And so over the summer months, we've really got more comprehensive, in the different examinations of the different rooms, especially as we, utilize the Pro Football Focus rankings and some of the other resources that we have. So we're going to look back at just the top 5. Again, we're talking about tight ends, defensive backs, running backs, and wide receivers. So we're going to have that, and then on the other side of that, we're going to finish up with some great stuff from our Facebook page. So what we want to do right now is talk about the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL as of right now. Most people probably know who they are, but in terms of how they're ranked by Pro Football Focus, that's a little bit different. And you always have a disclaimer.
Oh, absolutely. If Pro Football Focus ranks them this way, then that's the way Pro Football Focus sees it, but it may or may not be the way I see it. And I will try to let you know if I agree, disagree, a little bit, a lot. We'll see. Yes. I haven't looked at these, by the way, so, you fire them out there. I'll let you know.
All right, let's go with, now, Ben, number 5 is Deshaun Watson. But before we get to number 5, since Deshaun Watson is not playing, I figured, okay, who would he be replaced with? Well, this is number 6. Who would be number 5 if Deshaun Watson's not there?
Wow.
Josh Allen. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
That's your squad. As the number 5 quarterback in the league, how do you feel about that placement for him?
All right. Before we get into this deep dive, let me just say, I'm assuming that Pro Football Focus is looking at the players themselves and not necessarily their teams and the positions they're in as it compares to the team that they're playing on. I want to kind of hope that that's what they're doing.
Well,
but I'm going to look at them.
I think that with Deshaun Watson being number 5, that would be what they're doing, because he doesn't have a great team around him.
I would agree. I would agree. So they're simply looking at the skills and successes of the quarterbacks themselves and not necessarily what team they're on or their team success. So in that respect, if they're saying that Josh Allen is number 6, I appreciate him being that high. I could easily put him, I believe in my mind, I could put him at 5. I don't know who's ahead of him right this second. I have a pretty good idea though, but I would say, yeah, he deserves to be in the top 5. Now, I think Deshaun Watson also deserves to be in the top 5. So that means that somebody's going to have to go. So I'll just leave it right there, and you can tell me who's next.
Well, somebody's got to go. Right here looks like he's about to leave.
Yeah, he looks like he's looking over his shoulder, going out of the massage parlor, like, yeah, I told you.
Oh man, I still am almost blown away by the whole Deshaun Watson saga. To me, it's up there with Bill Cosby. It's you just don't think that it's even going to be a problem like that, and it's there. Okay, so that was your number 5. How much he plays this season is debatable. I think the potential for him to play, or the probability that he will play, is extremely low, because there's just too much up in the air, and the bureaucracies that are involved in the criminal justice system and the NFL move very slowly, and they usually start to hit you right in the middle of the season. It's like, wait, okay, now we'll figure out whether or not he's going to have some discipline from the NFL. That'll be sometime in November or something like that. So if it happens this year, you know, it might just be up in the air completely. So, you know, he's just going to be in limbo for a year. And then you combine that with the I don't want to be here thing. I want out, you know, asking to be traded. And I just find that whole thing intriguing. Okay. Number four is everybody wants to see him in a chef's outfit. They want to see him cook. And that would be one Russell Wilson.
Man, Russell Wilson. Okay. Russ has still got it. Russ has won a Super Bowl. He's been in another Super Bowl. Here's a crazy thing. I don't think Russ has ever been in the running for an MVP, for a league MVP. As good as he is, as much as he's respected at his position, even by his peers, Russ has never been in line or even heavily mentioned for a league MVP. I find that a little crazy, but you know, yeah, this top five is going to be tight. I love Russell Wilson. I think he's well deserving, but somebody's got to go.
Yeah, I mean, but this is just a really good reminder of how good some of these quarterbacks are across different teams. You know what I mean? The top flight guys and what, you know, who they are. I mean, it's really a standard for the NFL. It's also interesting to look at them from things like mobility standpoints, you know, different styles and stuff like that. All right. Number three, speaking of mobility and different styles, Aaron Rodgers, they have him down at number three. And you mentioned MVP. I'm sure you had him in mind when you did that, didn't you?
No, I just was having in mind that Russell never got even a sneeze at it. But Aaron Rodgers and MVP are synonymous. I mean, you can't say
get one. You only get one, man. Russell got to beat out AR. He won one.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Aaron Rodgers is a proven commodity. Aaron Rodgers will probably be, wow, he'll probably be a Hall of Famer. This guy's put up incredible numbers. He's won league MVPs. He's won a Super Bowl. He was a player or two away from getting to another Super Bowl just this past season and thrived and had an MVP season with basically one big name wide receiver on his team. He's amazing. He belongs there. I have no problem with this, except for the fact that where's he now? Pro Football Focus has him at three. At three. Okay. So it'll be interesting to see who they got ahead of him. It's tough. Wow. It's going to be hard to top him.
And you know, the funny thing is, remember, Ben, I said he had the best fallback deep ball in the league.
Yeah. And see, that's part of the reason. That's one of the things that makes Aaron Rodgers so great is that he can make great throws with mechanics that other quarterbacks would look horrible if those mechanics, like that falling backwards thing.
Yeah, it's like a follow, what do we call it? A fall away jumper when you're doing that little fall.
Yeah.
Players used to be able to have that fall away jumper down to a science, man. You know, You couldn't block it for nothing.
Right. Yeah.
I see him throw that ball like that from his end zone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's part of his greatness.
Absolutely amazing. So you figure who Benny could be better than that?
I don't know.
Who could be the guy that is better than Aaron Rodgers with all the things that we just finished saying about Mr. Aaron Rodgers? That is the question. That is the question, Mr. Dickerson. So next up, number 2 on the PFF list of top 5 quarterbacks, one Mr. Tom Brady.
Okay.
Number 2.
All right. Definite Hall of Famer, long career, success all over the place, goes to a new team, goes immediately to the Super Bowl. Here's the big deal with Brady. This guy goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, tries to run their offensive system as it was, ends up having to help them change their offensive system to one that was more conducive to his skills, and then takes the team to the Super Bowl and wins it. Go back and take a look, and I'm not going to try to quote it, but I'm pretty sure that Tampa Bay lost at least 5 games last season, maybe 6. I forget what their record was. But early in the season, they were up and down, and people were looking at Brady like, yo, maybe age is catching up with him. I don't think he can do this anymore. He's starting to fall off. And then he has a little back and forth with Arians. And then there's reports that he's having a few issues with some things in the system. He's making some suggestions, and all of a sudden, boom, they're off and running, and their offense looks great. Even with Mike Evans kind of in and out of the lineup with injuries, Godwin was in and out of the lineup with injuries. They didn't even get Antonio Brown until I think week 9. Yet they just kept rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. That's a big deal. That's greatness. Again, that's greatness. Not only physical skill, but the intelligence and the moxie and the ability to walk into the coach's office with the offensive coordinator and say, hey, listen, this isn't working for me, but I guarantee you this right here will. And they believed him. They made the changes, and it paid off with the Super Bowl at the end. There's nothing you can say bad about that. Nothing.
You know, it's interesting what you were saying. And so I have the 2020 schedule. They started out with a loss to the Saints, beat the Panthers, beat the Broncos, beat the Chargers. Then they lost to the Bears in October, beginning of October. Beat the Packers, beat the Raiders, beat the Giants. 3 straight wins before taking another L, a big time L, 38-3 to the Saints. I think that Saints was a real learning lesson for them. They knew they had to get past the Saints.
So 2 losses, that's 2 losses to a division foe.
To a division foe. They beat the Panthers, and then they lost 2 straight. They lost to the Rams, and they lost to the Chiefs to close out November.
So right there, how many losses is that?
I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see 5.
That's 5 losses by mid-season.
Well,
almost.
They had, this is the interesting thing. Yeah, by week 12. So out of the 12, they had 5 losses, 2 to a division opponent, 2 straight losses to close out November. They go into a bye week. They come back. I don't see any more losses.
Thank you.
They beat the Falcons. They beat the Lions. They beat the Falcons again.
Yeah, that's when the conversations took place.
Vikings.
That's when the conversations took place during the bye week, and they never lost again. They never lost a regular season game, swept through the playoffs, and won the Super Bowl.
They beat the Packers.
At that point, it doesn't matter who they beat. They already had the squad. It was the system. It was the same system, and I'm going to keep saying this and keep saying this. This was the same system that gave Jameis Winston a bad name. And Tom Brady said, I ain't going out like Jameis. You're not going to ruin me. We changing this. This stuff here y'all doing don't make no sense. Doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense for me as the quarterback of this team. And it doesn't make sense. No risk it, no biscuit. What is this, high school?
Well, that's why I chose this. That's why I chose this image. He's pointing
He
to
fixed that.
You know what I mean?
Yes, he fixed
About
that.
changing that level of mindset to something that we know works, and something that's fundamental. It's fundamental. You gotta take advantage of those things underneath. I was listening to them talk about one quarterback. Oh my goodness, it hurts me that I can't remember his name, but they were saying that his problem was that he wouldn't take what was open and available underneath. Everything was being pushed into, a double team or something like that. And, so yeah, there you go. The top 5 quarterbacks. Let's get ready to take a look at the number 1 choice. And I think we all kind of know who that is. It's not really much drama in terms of this, but it's the man who lost the Super Bowl, and who had some of the most amazing throws that did not end up in catches in that Super Bowl, who ran exponentially more than Tom Brady did in terms of his total yardage he had to run around. Absolutely amazing. But he has amazing arm talent. He's savvy as all hell. He's more athletic than what we maybe give him credit for. He's got one of the biggest contracts in NFL history, and he just seems to be an all-around great guy, man. What Mr. Patrick Mahomes, what are you gonna say about this guy?
Oh, all-around great guy. Yeah, I'll give him that.
Wait, do I detect a little downward?
Yes, you do.
Oh my goodness.
Remember,
Okay, go ahead. Let me hear this.
Remember at the beginning of this, I said somebody's got to go?
Uh-huh.
All right, so hear me out. Tremendous physical talent, tremendous physical skill, obviously smarts, off-platform throws like crazy, running ability, escapability out of the pocket. Yeah, he's got all of that. But as far as being skill-wise, overall skill-wise, mental, physical abilities, able to take your team to wins and all that, just on what you have or your personal contribution to your team winning, there's guys that are better. So now that I've said that, I'm going to tell you my top 5 quarterbacks right now.
Right now.
Just as quarterbacks right now.
Okay.
Number 1, Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, so we know where you're going. Number 1, right off the bat.
Number 1, Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. I'm not surprised.
Number 2, Josh Allen.
Are you serious?
And he only beats out Brady, who's number 3 on physical ability. Number 3, Tom Brady.
Whoa.
Number 4, Deshaun Watson. And number 5, Russell Wilson. That's my top 5.
That's your top 5. Let me make sure I got this because my mind is slightly blown here. We're starting out with Aaron Rodgers. Number 2, we're saying is who?
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. I'm having a hard time. Number 2, okay. Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen. 3?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. Okay. 4?
Deshaun Watson.
Sean. Wow. And Russell Wilson at 5?
And Russell Wilson at 5.
Interesting.
And to be totally fair, and I know his name's been besmirched and I know his team's been crappy, but I actually could put Deshaun Watson ahead of Tom Brady. I could move Brady to 4, move Watson to 3. I could do that easily. I feel bad for the guy. If it turns out that he did all this creepy stuff that they're saying he did, then, so be it. But if you take that part out of it and go by what he's been able to do, you're making faces at me. If you take that part out of it and just look at what he's been able to do on the field, and just imagine if he was on a halfway decent team, this guy's incredible. The things that he's done, the numbers that he's put up just in the last 2 seasons alone are off the charts. He has it all. Deshaun Watson has it all. He's not lacking in anything except for maybe, I don't even want to say that. I was going to say speed, like straight away. I get outside the pocket and I take off type of speed. He's not the fastest guy, okay? But he's got everything else. Everything else.
Okay, all right. Well, you properly blown my mind here with your top 5. It is what it is. I didn't.
Why is your mind blown? Is your mind only blown because Mahomes is not in it? Or do you have a problem with my rankings?
Well, first of all, putting Josh Allen number 2, I'm not arguing with it. I just never thought of him as the number 2 quarterback in the NFL. So that's just gonna have to. Okay. I'm gonna have to kind of. I got to think about that a little bit.
That's what I'm here for, to educate you.
Yeah, I hear you. I got to stew on that. The whole Deshaun Watson better than Tom Brady thing.
Deshaun Watson is far and away better than Tom Brady.
I really got to work
as a quarterback.
And
quarterback skills. Deshaun Watson is up here, and Tom Brady's right here. Telling you.
It's interesting. First of all, they're 2 very different types of quarterbacks. And so Deshaun Watson can do some things that Tom Brady absolutely cannot do. I think the one thing that Tom Brady can do that Deshaun Watson hasn't proved it is that he has to get a release time that's under 2.5 seconds on average. And
that's wonderful. I think that's great.
That's just not wonderful. That is the game.
I know that's not the game.
That's the game.
Because Tom Brady has worked on that over the years because he knows his escapability is not that good. Deshaun Watson can take that sidestep. He can get out of the pocket and he can deliver passes just as short, just as intermediate, just as long, and just as on time and just as money as any pass Tom Brady can make.
Man, that might be true. But if he got the ball off in under 2.5, he wouldn't have to do all of that. It'd have been done.
That's not what we're talking about.
Oh man, that's
a skill that Tom Brady has that nobody else has. That's one skill that Tom Brady has. Okay, so is Tom Brady better than Aaron Rodgers?
Of the list.
So Tom Brady is number 1 in your book? Because Aaron Rodgers doesn't have that skill.
No, I think Aaron Rodgers.
Mahomes doesn't have that skill. Mahomes, no, he does not.
Aaron Rodgers, if anybody
doesn't have it,
can do that.
No, there's no can do it because you think he can do it.
Whether he does it as much as he could, I don't.
Brady is documented as having that. Aaron Rodgers is not documented as having that.
I don't know what
Patrick Mahomes is not documented as having that.
You know
if they don't have that skill. Time is. So you're saying that. Do I know what it is?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So again, I don't know.
Neither do you.
But what I'm saying is, and watching Aaron Rodgers throw the ball, his arm talent, and knowing his level of awareness, his smarts, if that's something that he wanted to focus on, I think he could do it. So I think he has the capability, just like you said, Brady honed that skill over years. That's a skill that was honed. And I believe it's invaluable. It just helped him win a Super Bowl with a bad leg. So, I think this is an amazing skill. But long story short,
it's an amazing skill that he honed over time, like you said, out of necessity.
Right.
Okay.
Hey,
so just because these other guys don't need to do it, that doesn't make him better because he has that skill. If you say that you think Aaron Rodgers could do it, I agree. Do you think Josh Allen could do it? Guy's only been in the league for 4 years. Absolutely, he could. Could Russell Wilson do it? Absolutely, they could. You know why they're all better than Tom Brady? Because they can move and they don't have to do it. That doesn't necessarily mean that because he can do it, that makes him better.
This is a fundamental philosophical difference that we're having. And we can settle that we're going to kind of disagree at this particular point, but our top 5 are pretty much the same. Let me ask you this question. Is there some quarterback that you would want that would have an honorable mention relative to the top 5?
Honorable mention? Lamar Jackson.
I kind of felt that way. Lamar Jackson.
So assuming that your top 5 includes Mahomes and mine doesn't, otherwise, because mine doesn't, then I will say Mahomes. Okay. But yeah.
Yeah, either way. So it kind of works out that way. All right. Well, that was an interesting little discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we're different in terms of our thinking. There's so much that we are together on, but there's so much that we just, and that's what makes it fun. We haven't agreed 100% in 40 years. So don't think we're going to start right now. That's us in my background. If you can't see this because you're on the radio, that's Ben and Barry back in the day when we were literally playing, and that was literally right before a championship game. So we've been messing around with this football thing for a long time. What we like to do on the final portion of our show is to go right back to our Facebook page and just go through some of these topics that have popped up over the last week. We do a weekly show. First off, NFL rosters were due day before yesterday, August 31st, the final cut down day. Dreams got dashed, lives got changed. Anything in particular hit you in terms of the cuts and all the waves that happened? Waivers, I guess I should say.
Not really. I was a little distressed with Corey Clement getting released by the Giants. But he's okay because he ended up making the 53 on the Cowboys. I thought it was, it's been pretty contentious here in Philadelphia with the Eagles keeping Whiteside at wide receiver as opposed to Travis Fulgham, a guy who has produced far better in a shorter period of time than Whiteside has, but Whiteside being a player who was drafted higher and paid more money. And I don't want to say the excuse, but the reason for keeping Whiteside was that he played special teams. I've heard that before from other coaches on other teams. I can understand that, but not I haven't heard it used about a player that was drafted that high and was expected to be a doggone starting wide receiver. I'm looking at this as this guy's coming in, and right now he's number 5 on the depth chart, which is exactly where they expected him to be. And they were just hoping that he would make the team, but he played well on special teams. He made a couple of great kind of the Terrell Davis story. Nobody believed in Terrell Davis till he ran down on kickoff and mopped somebody. You know what I mean? And then he ended up making the team, and he turned that into a Hall of Fame career. But I'm just saying, for a guy to be able to get out there and just make an NFL career, 3-4 year career, because he showed himself well on special teams, but just couldn't crack the starting wide receiver lineup or the starting running back lineup or be a starting linebacker, because that's usually where those special team guys come from. They're either like the 4th or 5th string wideout, 4th or 5th string running back, linebacker, or DB. That's usually where those guys come from, and they're the gunners on the kick and punt team, or they're out there blocking or returning kicks or something of that nature. So
Well,
that thing with the Eagles was a pretty big deal.
since you're talking about the Eagles, what'd you think about this deal? Nick Mullins out, Gardner Minshew in.
Okay, first of all, right there on the surface, that first sentence tells you that was a good move by the Eagles. Gardner Minshew is far and away better than Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins is a career backup. Gardner Minshew has been a starter, albeit on a team that wasn't very good. Minshew proved that he was worthy of being a starter in the NFL. He has a good skill set, throws the ball well, hasn't been around that long, so his awareness and his mentals could possibly be brought into question. But for the most part, he's proven that he can lead a team to wins and that he can put numbers up on the board. So I thought that was a good move. Now, my first thought was they're going to bring him in to compete with Jalen Hurts. A lot of Eagle fans do not think that's the case. A lot of Eagle players do not think that's the case. People were worried that Hurts would get a little jittery about bringing in a guy like Minshew because of what went on when he was drafted, and they had Wentz and all the mental stuff that Wentz went through because he's had somebody over his shoulder. That doesn't seem to be bothering Hurts. I don't think it should. I don't think he's that kind of guy where he's going to let that happen to him. But I also know that Minshew is not trying to be a backup. Now, it should only take another minute or two for him to ascend to the number 2 spot and bump Flacco down to number 3. After that, we'll see what happens. But I think, if anything, Hurts' leash got a little bit shorter.
Well, Minshew was demonstrative in saying while he was with the Jaguars that he didn't want to be a backup.
That's correct.
So I was surprised that they brought him in relative to that. I mean, it's kind of like with Cam, you're just not seeing Cam taking a backup role yet. I don't know if he ever will or how he feels about that, but he's Cam. So he's also, one of those people that were cut, probably one of the bigger news items for the week, with Cam being cut. And Matt Jones taking the starting spot quarterback there, which is historic for the Patriots. They don't normally start rookie quarterbacks. I looked through, and I didn't have time to look through a full list, but there's some names that pop up, and we kind of know those names because they've been around a little bit, but they were released. So, I mean, I mentioned Cam Newton, Devonta Freeman, Jake Fromm, Davis Webb, Benardrick McKinney, Shaquem Griffin got released, and he's always been, for me, kind of a sentimental. I root for him all the time, Sure. Apparently the Jets are going with a guy named Mike White as the only backup for the quarterback, and he's yet to take an NFL snap.
What's his name?
Mike White. It's going to be backing up Zach Wilson.
And they have no other quarterbacks in their room?
That's what the article said. So,
that'll change.
Well, that'll change, yeah. One of our favorites got released, Trace McSorley.
Oh, the Ravens dropped him when?
And this 53-man clean out.
He
might wind up on the practice squad or something like that. But
yeah, Trace McSorley, yeah. So do me a favor, real fast. Start back at the top of that list and just give me some names. Give me one at a time.
All right. Devonta Freeman.
Shot fighter. Keep going.
Jake Fromm.
Ooh, I like to see Jake Fromm get another chance. Still young, still has potential.
Tanner Gentry.
Could care less.
Webb.
Could care less.
Benardrick McKinney.
Ooh, possibility. Somebody pick him up. Whoa, easy, easy, easy. Shaquem Griffin will get another chance. Somebody will pick him up.
Trace McSorley.
You know why they'll pick up Griffin? Because he can play special teams.
he's fast as hell.
He's fast and he's a hitter. He'll be on somebody's roster.
Oh yeah. Former Niner Trent Taylor, receiver.
Trent Taylor.
Yeah.
Been around too long and showed too little.
Believe me, when you're playing with the Niners, he was the default slot receiver, and I constantly was replacing him with other people. So
yeah.
Well, Dwayne Haskins took the third quarterback spot. We were wondering whether or not he would be the second quarterback spot, but the Steelers still have him at the third spot, but he did make the 53-man roster. So, Kiki Kuti.
He'll be around. Somebody will grab him.
Wide receiver.
Speed.
Rasul Douglas, linebacker Hardy Nickerson.
Rasul Douglas, forget about it. Didn't play well with the Eagles. He's toast. Get him out of here.
Okay, toast. Hardy Nickerson. That sounds like a name from.
Hardy Nickerson's been around for a while. This might be it for him.
Colts let Brett Hundley go.
Oh, quarterback, and he just got a lot of time in their last preseason game, I think. So evidently he didn't do enough. I don't know what to say about that.
Jags wide receiver Laquan Treadwell.
No, been around way too long, hasn't done anything. He played for the Vikings. He was one of the Vikings for years.
Well, that's mainly what I have in terms of cuts, but I want to mention Ryan Tannehill is now on the COVID list.
Yeah, it's been a few days now. He'll be coming off pretty soon.
Speaking of COVID, I took a look, Benny, and there was an article, and I took some information from an ESPN article that I thought might be helpful for people to understand the difference between the NFL protocols as they apply to vaccinated versus unvaccinated players. And I'll say this much. One article that I read about, and I think it was the Jaguars general manager, and I hate to throw the Jaguars out there because it might not be him, but long story short, said that the vaccination status played a part in who they decided to waive. The players union is now looking at that, not very happily. And I noticed that the Patriots, when they let Cam go, they specifically said the vaccination had nothing to do with it. The interesting thing, Cole Beasley with the Patriots is one of those anti-vaxxer guys.
Bills,
I'm sorry. Thank you. Cole Beasley with the Bills is sort of an anti-vaxxer. And I was reading some of his statements, and regardless of whether or not, you agree with his vaccination status, one of his contentions is that vaccinated players and unvaccinated players should be treated the same relative to testing. Vaccinated players are tested weekly, unvaccinated players are tested daily. And if you test positive and you're vaccinated, you're out 10 days and can return sooner once you receive 2 negative tests, whereas the unvaccinated players are miss 10 days. Then there's a 3-day return to play protocol. They're designated as high risk, must test immediately. If they test negative, they still must miss 5 days and return on day 6. So they have a lot more to go through. The interesting thing is, as much as I probably disagree with Cole Beasley on some of the main thinkings about the vaccines, I actually agree with him that I believe that they should all be tested the same because of the Delta variant. The Delta variant now makes vaccinated players contagious, and they have the ability to pass that on, whereas they didn't think that was going to be the situation when they were handing out the vaccines. Based on the original strain of COVID, the amount of virus that you expel, they expected to be so low that vaccinated people would not be contagious. That changed with the Delta variant. So to me, I kind of agree with Cole Beasley. Everybody should be tested daily, and they should take up that protocol. And I still have the question as far as how much fan attendance is going to make sense as we get along to the next holiday. We came out of July. There was a big spike with the July 4th holiday and people that were infected. We're going to go into the Labor Day holiday, and people must have their fun. So we'll see what happens with that. But this is the situation per ESPN, and I think it's pretty accurate. So there you go.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Cole Beasley is just looking for sympathy when he says that. I shouldn't say that. I believe that he believes that that is more fair, but the fact that he's pushing that is to try to get people off his back about being an anti-vaxxer. He has yet, to my knowledge, really said why he doesn't want to get the vaccine, other than the fact that he shouldn't have to if he doesn't want to. That it's a free country, and that's his decision, and that's the decision that he's tried to make. But he hasn't said why he's making that decision, other than the fact that he can, okay? But, and especially because of the Delta variant, I agree with him and with you that everybody should be tested the same way and at the same, frequency. Again, the NFL is going to be our canary in the coal mine. That's the best way to go. But I think the NFL, in trying to push people to get the vaccination, said, if you're unvaccinated, you got to go through this every day. But if you get a vaccination, you only got to go through it once a week. Again, we're using words and scenarios to try to push our agendas here. NFL, Cole Beasley. There's got to be a meeting in the middle here somewhere. And I agree. If they're going to test like they've been testing, then they should continue to test like they've been testing, whether people are vaccinated or not. They should not stop that.
My basic contention, I agree with you, has been that the pandemic is not over. We're still in it, and we need to be acting like we're still in it. And I believe that should apply to schools and NFL stadiums as well. So, because it's not about, it's always not about you. It's we've had recently, just locally, a school situation where they had a bit of an outbreak. And the crazy thing is that in many cases, the people are asymptomatic. This is what you find out with the NFL. So they come in, they're whistling Dixie, everything's fine, da-da-da-da-da-da, take a test and boom, you're positive, like, huh? Me? It was a beautiful morning. What are you talking about?
Right.
And so that's kind of how it is. And so, we recently had a close friend who, had a family member come in, was positive. They were vaccinated, except for the baby. And they all got COVID, including the baby. Baby was okay. And that's the thing that's scary. You can have a large percentage of the people who are okay, even if they're infected. And I believe that throws a lot into the conversation, that skews it away from the vaccine. But you have a percentage of people who are not okay. And now recently, I read in a scientific magazine, they're looking at asymptomatic people to determine, they're beginning to wonder, just because you're asymptomatic does not necessarily mean you are free of harm. They're finding like some differences in people's lung tissues and things of that nature who were asymptomatic, and you have situations like people might have cancer. They might not have symptoms, you know what I mean? Until it gets to a certain point, and then all of a sudden, oh, I got cancer, but you were fine, last month. So, that there's still a lot that's happening with that. Okay. The Cardinals placed Malcolm Butler on the retired list. Did you see this article? Malcolm Butler, since the Super Bowl against the Eagles, where it was such a mystery as to why Belichick did not play him. This is one of his best defensive backs, the hero of the Super Bowl that they won. And things just haven't been the same. Have you had an eye on what's going on with Malcolm Butler at all?
Not a close eye, but watching him play over the last couple of seasons and still trying to figure out when the subject comes up, what the heck happened that day back, what was that, 2017? I'm starting to think there's some mental issues here. There's mental issues. It's not physical, it's mental, but when I've seen him on the field, his physical has not been up to par. It seems like he got to the top of his game really quickly and unexpectedly, and then started to decline very quickly and unexpectedly. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So now they got him on this injured / retired or pup / retired list. Who knows? See, he's like in between. I'm not hurt, but I can't play, and I can't play, and I might retire, but I can play, but I'm not ready to play. Who knows? But when I see whatever / retired, sounds to me like the team is like, we think this dude's on his way out.
Yeah, when you're still got so many good, years physically left, and you're talking that retirement stuff, and it's all personal. I don't know, but I felt sorry for him in terms of the Super Bowl, and I guess that's where, the empathy, for him, and why I kind of keep an eye out. And like I said, he was he was the hero of the Super Bowl. He's the guy who picked that pass off from Russell Wilson in a play that we all questioned. It's like, you got beast mode back there. Why are you throwing the ball? One of the more historic, questionable offensive calls of NFL history. I said historic, so there you go, saying it twice. But long story short, he was such a big part of all of that. So I guess I always keep an idea about what's going on with him. All right. Next up, let's see. You are the fantasy guy. And so I took a look at our Facebook page, and I put up some information on the fantasy rankings. Now, I don't know if ESPN is one of your sources, but what do you think about this? You talked about your top 5 quarterbacks. Here's your top 5 fantasy rankings on ESPN for quarterbacks. What do you think about these guys?
And look at those names.
Look who's number 2.
Look who's number 2. Okay.
Josh Allen.
Fantasy rankings come out for players based on the numbers, and these are preseason rankings because the season hasn't started yet. So this is based on the numbers that they expect the player to put up. And the kind of numbers that count for quarterbacks in fantasy is passing yards, rushing yards, passing touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, and in some cases, completions, but not many. Okay? So that's why you'll always see Lamar Jackson up there, because his passing yards are going to be, locked into his rushing yards. Same thing with Kyler Murray. They score on the ground and through the air. They're always going to be up there. Josh Allen, I'm telling you, this guy is on the other side of up and coming and still coming. Okay. And of course, Mahomes, with all the fancy footwork and the off balance throws and the ability to escape the pocket and get downfield. Those kind of guys are always going to be up there.
Those guys are going to be up there. Now, in addition, so you're the fantasy guy. So you like those, you think those were pretty good ratings. You're not too opposed to those, right?
Let me see them one more time, because you got to remember, in fantasy, the team that a guy plays on is just as important. And when you're talking about a quarterback who is rated highly, who happens to be on a team whose defense is not rated highly, actually will be rated highly. Hence, you have Kyler Murray at 3. You have Dak Prescott at 4. That's because they got all the skills, and they will probably be coming from behind a lot. And when you're coming from behind a
Wait, you're
lot,
saying that when you have a stinky defense, it might help your fantasy
yes,
rankings.
absolutely. Because now you're going to be throwing the ball a whole lot more. It might be garbage numbers in reality, but in fantasy, it counts because they're real numbers. We only call them garbage numbers because they're compiled at the end of a game in an attempt to come back, or just at the end of the game because that's the only way you can move the ball, and you're going to lose the game anyway. So the fact that your team lost the game makes them garbage numbers. But in fantasy, that's real production. You did that. The man physically took the snap and threw and threw and threw, and he piled up those numbers. Winning and losing means nothing in fantasy from a team outlook.
Is
It's
that why
all
Justin
about the
Herbert is
player.
above Tom Brady?
It's all about the player. Look how low Tom Brady is, right? You know why? Because Tom Brady has a running game and he has a dynamic defense. So that ranks him low. He's not going to put up numbers like those guys.
Tom is 9 and Jalen Hurts is 10. That's
Yeah.
wow.
Actually, Jalen Hurts should probably be a little bit higher. I don't know where people get this thing about the Eagles' defense is going to be improved. I don't see it, but Jalen Hurts should probably be higher. That's what's hurting a guy like Baker Mayfield, a guy that looks like he's really, really got it now and is ready to take his team to Super Bowl contention, is ranked very low in fantasy because he's on such a great all-around team. That's how you got to look at fantasy.
Man, LBJ was out, had some video of him out on a field catching passes, and he caught this one-handed, left-handed thing, snagged it out the air. I'm like, oh, snap.
If he comes back strong, that's the Browns are going to be a problem this year. They're going to be a problem. The big question is, how will they contend with the teams in their division? Because I think outside the division, and I don't know what division or what inter-conference games the AFC North will be playing. I'd have to look that up, but I think they're going to be going all over the place, killing people. They're going to kill people. They're going to have their most problems, most likely, within their division, if they have problems at all. I think they'll. I'll tell you right now, they're going to sweep the Bengals. They will probably. They got a good chance of sweeping the Steelers. Don't kill me out there, okay? And I think they split with the Ravens. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough.
Now, going back to your contention about the defense, when I look at our favorite player, Mr. Kirk Cousins at 19, I'm wondering, okay, now Kirk Cousins might be low, not because his defense is so bad, just because it's Kirk Cousins.
No, guys are low because their defense is good. Guys are high because their defense is bad.
Okay, I had it backwards. All right.
But the fact that it is Kirk Cousins has something to do with where he's listed. Now, let's remember about Kirk Cousins, okay? He has Adam Thielen and he has Justin Jefferson. So Kirk Cousins' numbers are not going to be horrible. And number 19 out of 32, that's not terrible. He's a serviceable quarterback in fantasy. he wouldn't be my number one guy, but he could help me on a bye week.
What does it say that Justin Fields is one notch above Kirk Cousins? And this coach is saying that he's not going to start. It's going to be Andy Dalton. So he's not even starting. He's ranking higher than Kirk Cousins.
Andy Dalton is 2 interceptions away from being on the bench. They love Justin Fields, and that coach is trying his best not to say how much he loves Justin Fields. And he's got Justin Fields like this. Hold on. Oh, wait. Not yet.
Wait, hold it. Am I to say that, see here, that Trey Lance, I see Trey Lance. I don't even see Jimmy G in the top. What is this, 25?
He's not even on the list.
He's not even on the list.
Again, you got a really good team.
Oh, my goodness.
With a really good running game. So he's not going to be throwing the ball a lot. You know he ain't going to run for no yardage. You know, the most production Jimmy G is going to get you is touchdown passes, because he's not going to get you with yardage. He's not going to throw for a lot of yardage because they run the ball too much. And he's not going to be coming from behind that much because they got a good defense. That makes him null and void. Doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback. Just means he's not going to get you the numbers you need to win fantasy games.
Well, you know, I kind of brought that up just so I could kind of, because you talk fantasy, I love Madden. We kind of, you know, live in these two different worlds. And so I took a quick look at the Madden ratings. We ranked the quarterbacks before. Now here you have the Madden ratings. You got Patrick Mahomes coming in at a 99 in first place. Tom Brady at a 97 in second place. Now notice this awareness column here. High awareness for Patrick Mahomes. Super high as you can get, 99. Nobody hardly ever gets 100. I don't even know if the column will go 3 digits. Aaron Rodgers right behind him. Lamar Jackson down at 93. Deshaun Watson is up there and just a notch above Josh Allen in terms of the ratings. So very interesting when you look at it. Now, this is just from a physical attribute perspective. You know, you have your overall, your speed, acceleration, strength, agility, awareness, catching, carrying, all of that kind of good stuff. They take it out a number of different iterations in terms of attributes. But it is interesting when you look at the different ways that you can take a look at all of these quarterbacks and these players and learn a little bit from every perspective. You know what I mean? I think that all of it's somewhat valuable. You can take it in for a little bit of the big picture. All right.
When you look at those Madden rankings, it kind of justifies my rankings as opposed to the Pro Football Focus rankings.
Okay, help me with that.
Josh Allen's up there. I mentioned Lamar as an honorable mention. You know, obviously they're going to have Mahomes up there because he's young and he can do it all. But Brady's still at the top. Let's face it, Mahomes, Rodgers, Josh, Deshaun, they all have better overall arm talent than Tom Brady. They can make all the throws, and they can especially throw a better deep ball than Tom Brady. Tom Brady throws a nice deep ball because he gets it out in 2.5 seconds, and because he has tremendous touch and throws beautiful high arcing spirals, and he has great anticipation. Wonderful. But straight up, this against yours, there's 5, 6, 7, 8 guys better than Brady. But when you look at Madden, Brady never makes mistakes. And that's why he's high in Madden.
And in my eyes also, let me say that. Now, interesting, when we're looking at all of these quarterbacks and things of that nature, we're going to kind of wrap this up. And again, go back to your fantasy, because as someone who's still trying to understand, all the ins and outs in fantasy and stuff, I found this article and I shared it on our page. And it's an article that explains the difference between a PPR and a non-PPR league. And I have it highlighted here where they basically say in a non-PPR league, the points are distributed simply based off of a previously determined scoring rubric, where an offensive player points are accumulated based on statistics involving yardage and touchdowns. In a full PPR leagues, points for offensive players are distributed using both the standard league scoring classifications as well as added incentive of, as the title indicates, points per reception.
Exactly.
So help me understand this a little bit. First of all,
it's real easy.
You're in more than one type of league, or are you just in one type?
I like to get in PPR leagues. I prefer PPR leagues.
Okay.
Because it takes into consideration a skill that some players are better at than others. So in a normal, plain, ordinary league, if a receiver will get a point every time he catches a pass, or every time his total yardage of the game goes over 10 yards. So you catch a 10-yard pass, you get a point. You catch a 20-yard pass, you get 2 more points. You catch a 60-yard bomb, you get 6 more points. If you score a touchdown, you get an additional 6 for the touchdown. But in a PPR league, you catch a 10-yard pass, you get a point, and you get another point for the catch. You catch a 20-yard pass, you get 2 more points, and another point for the catch. It's points per reception, and normally it's 1 point. So every pass you catch, if you catch a 3-yard pass and get smashed, you get a point. Every time you catch the ball, running backs, tight ends too, every time you catch the ball, regardless of what you get for your yardage, regardless of if you score a touchdown, you get 1 more point for actually making the catch. That's why I like PPR.
Now, across the board, everybody's getting that 1 more point. So where's how do you get it taking a strategic advantage in terms of that?
Because if a great receiver, let's just say, catches 6 balls and scores a touchdown, and another guy catches 8 balls and doesn't score a touchdown. Under normal circumstances, if my math in my head is right, the guy that caught the 6 and scored the touchdown would have more points. But in PPR, the guy that caught the 8 balls got 8 more points than that other guy did. And even without scoring a touchdown, he probably racked up more yardage than the other guy did. Hence, that guy would have more points.
Okay. So now, when you're evaluating players, you're looking for that guy who has volume.
I'm looking for the guy that gets a lot of targets, and I'm looking for touchdown score. You got to look for touchdown scores, because if you score a touchdown, you get 6. No matter whether you run it in, throw it in, or catch it, it's 6. So you always want to look for guys. When you're looking at tight ends, you want to look for red zone threats. You know what I mean? Because tight ends don't normally catch 8-10 passes a game, or nobody hardly catches 10 passes a game. But 6 to 8 passes a game, most tight ends aren't going to get that. So you got to look for guys that are red zone threats, because touchdowns is paramount. Other than that, you want guys to get a lot of targets, because you get a lot of targets, you'll probably get a lot of catches. If you get a lot of catches, you're going to get a lot of yardage. And if you get a lot of catches, you're also going to get that 1 point in PPR every time you catch the ball. That's what makes PPR great, that extra point for every catch.
That extra point, eh?
Right. That's why you look for 3rd down running backs. You look for 3 down backs, because 3 down backs can run and they can catch, like Kamara. Those are the kind of guys you want. They're going to pile up rushing yards, and they're going to pile up receiving yards, and they're going to pile up PPR points.
Okay. All right.
Like,
All right.
you want to squeeze every ounce of juice out of there.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is your fantasy football tip of the day from Ben and Barry on football. As I say, Ben is he's a fantasy guy. I'm the Madden guy. I've been struggling to win a game. So
What's wrong? What's wrong? What happened? Is the new game got you?
Well, as I told you, every game that comes out changes it just enough to put you back at the bottom of the learning curve. And then I couldn't go back to my playbook because they changed the playbook and the plays that I was looking for were no longer there. So now I kind of had to develop some new schemes. But that's what's good about the game. It makes you learn, it makes you think, it makes you have to, adjust and deal, because I mean the game is beating you and cheating you all at the same time, and especially when you're playing at the high level. That's why I always say, remember this quote from Barry of Ben and Barry on football, right? You got to be good enough to beat the cheat.
You got to beat the cheat. I hear you. I hear you. But I'm
That's
sure they built
lesson.
that into the game to make it that more difficult, because let's face it, if it was all even, everybody'd be good.
You know what I'm saying? So I got to try to keep up with the young guys, the 60 and over leagues, and it's not a whole bunch of those guys. I'm sure actually it's probably more than you think.
Probably is.
It probably is. I haven't had the time to really explore my online. Before the new 22 came out, 21, I'd go online and there's nobody there. It's like a desert. I don't know what was going on. I didn't understand it, but I didn't have time to mess around with it. So I just play against the machine generally and get my game going. But
you gotta get in a league. You got to get in a league.
I've done the whole league thing. I used to win the leagues all the time. It's just having time to commit to it with all the other commitments. It hasn't been time. That's why I play the game, because I can pause it, stop it, come back.
And whenever you want, right?
Time flexibility. But when you're playing, like I said, at the man level in the beginning, you're going to take some lumps, man. Yeah, I mean, you're going to take some lumps. So, and guess, I think about you sometimes when I was playing Denver, and Denver was like creaming me. I'm like, and it wasn't even Teddy at quarterback. Drew Lock was firing my butt up.
They got weapons, man. They got weapons. Sutton's healthy now. KJ Hamler, Tim Patrick. Holy man, Jerry Judy. Oh, dude, they're loaded.
So it's going to be an interesting season. Can't wait. Next week, we'll be back with our format, which includes the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. Now, those two things, I say them all the time at the beginning of the show. If you haven't really watched this, you don't know maybe what that means. But we rank teams during the season by net points, the differential. The ones with the greatest differential are highest ranked. The ones with the least are lowest ranked. And then when we have matchups, we use those differentials in the matchups to determine who is, quote, favored. And that's really all you can say. And of course, I do all of this math, put it all on spreadsheets, put it out there, and Ben disagrees with it. And that's what his role in life is to disagree.
That is correct.
Sometimes. But we're both of us are just under, I believe, 70% last year.
Yes. And that being said, if you hear this, what we're talking about right now, keep this in mind. If you are a gambler, if you play DraftKings, if you're an online bettor, when you're compiling information before you put in your wagers, watch Ben and Barry on football. I'm not going to guarantee that you're going to win money, but I tell you what, if my picks and the Bias Plus report average a little bit better than 70% last year, I would venture to guess that you should probably take a look at our show. That's all I have to say. And I will repeat that as we go forward in these shows. Check us out. This thing is real, man. This Sterling net point power ranking thing it started out as an experiment. It is real. Okay. We win far more than we lose. Trust me.
I always compare it to an unmanaged mutual fund, which so many reports have come out that say, well, the unmanaged funds are beating the managed funds. The guys who are picking the stocks aren't beating the funds. And it's not easy. I'm in an investment club, and up to about 5 years, we could not match the S&P 500. We were just struggling to match it. Now, we've caught up with it since, but it took a lot of work. And when we talk about the bias plus, the bias is, again, who's favored in that differential in terms of points. But I'll just add this one. We added the plus a few years back, and that plus is the turnover differential. And I thought about it, Ben, during watching the preseason, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The announcer during the Houston-Dallas preseason game said, quote, look at the turnover differential and you pretty much know who won the game.
There you go. How many times have you heard a coach at a post-game conference say, we can't turn the ball over 3 times and expect to win?
Not going to happen.
It's important. It's extremely important.
Hey, look, that's my, if I turn it over 3 times, even in the game, I don't win. So for the most part, I think I have like a 1 turnover limit. Once I get past that, it's trouble in paradise. All right, Benny, that was a great time today. We covered a lot more than I think we expected to cover during the game. But hey, somebody wound us up and turned us loose on football, and that's what we do. So I'm done. How about you?
I'm done too, except I know now I got to dig a little bit deeper into my college stuff so that I can have something to present to Nina's radio audience. So I'll be sure I'll be ready for that next week. And other than that, all I can say is go Noles.
Go Noles.